ask the Minister if he can provide assurances, as Minister with responsibility for energy and electricity, that the State will not face blackouts this winter as a result of the demands on the electricity generation and transmission network, including from data centres, if he will outline the steps he has taken to address the increasing number of amber alerts and supply/demand challenges, and will he make a statement on the matter?
Thank you. Las Concordagus, Deputy O'Rourke. The Commission for Energy Regulation of Utilities, the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities CRU, has statutory responsibility to monitor and take measures necessary to ensure the security of electricity supply in Ireland. It is assisted in this statutory role by EirGrid, which is responsible for the day-to-day management of the electricity transmission system. The CRU has advised me that they have identified challenges to ensuring continued electricity security of supply, which they are in the process of addressing. These challenges include lower than expected availability of some existing power stations, anticipated new power stations not being developed as planned, expected growth in demand for electricity, including due to the growth of data centres, as you say, and the expected closure of power stations that make up approximately 25% of conventional generation capacity over the coming years. There's a range of actions being taken by CRU and EirGrid to ensure security of electricity supply, which includes maximising the availability of existing generators, the development of new generation capacity, including temporary generation capacity in advance of winter 2022, making changes to the grid connection rules for data centres, and working with large energy consumers to, where possible, reduce their electricity demand during peak seasons. While a number of system alerts have been issued over the past year, including 2 last week, this has not impacted the supply of electricity to customers. I'm advised by the CRU that due to the expected return of 2 key gas-fired power stations by November, the outlook for the coming winter is improved. However, it does not eliminate the potential for further system alerts. My department is supporting the CRU and EirGrid as they progress the necessary actions to ensure continued secure electricity of supply.
The prospect of blackouts, it's quite incredible, and I know in my own area in County Meath there are particular pressures in Dublin West from speaking to people in the sector. We have noticed a significantly increased outages. Whether they're related to these issues is another thing, but there's certainly a coincidence at the very least. We're hearing from a range of people. It's in the public discourse, the prospect of blackouts. I heard John Fitzgerald on the radio over the summer period talking about back to the 70s where we had that reality. And I think there's a real mismanagement, in my opinion, and a policy incoherence. On the one hand, there's this, and we want it, the shift towards renewables. On the other hand, the increase in demand from data centres. Can I ask, Minister, what assessment has been made of the current and future demand from data centres and how that has been factored into our energy policy?
This is a complex situation, and it's not one, it's a multi-annual complexity. We have to look forward the next decade and beyond, but particularly the next 3 to 4 years. As I said, our expectation is now we will not have outages this winter. You never know. So should a power station break down, or something similar to the loss of the 2 large gas power stations which went out last year or early this year, there are developments that you can't completely expect. But subject to the return of those 2 gas power stations, we expect to be able to get through this winter period. But no one should underestimate the scale of the challenge we have in the coming winters, particularly the next 3 or 4 after that. And the challenge is particularly because we also have to retire by 2025 some large generators, like some Money Point coal-fired power station, Tarbert, Edenderry, a number of other, or at least switch them from being high fossil fuel generation stations to low. The demand side of the equation, the demand side is very much a part of that. Data centres are only one element to that. CRU have done a major study or public consultation as well in terms of how they will work with data centres to make sure that they complement our electricity security system. Thank you.
Ara, and I might just get you to come back on, just expand on that point in relation to data centres and how they will be factored in. But you will appreciate that, and just to make a comment in relation to it, that there are those who would use this opportunity to try and make the case for extending our existing dependency on fossil fuels. And I think the government needs to be very clear in relation to their position in relation to that. And I'd reference the existing planning application for Shannon LNG, amongst other things. But the point I want to raise, Minister, is in relation to the impact of these challenges on the cost of electricity. And we're facing into another winter where costs are increasing and increasing. For one supplier, they've seen a 50% increase over the last 12 months, and it's having a huge impact on families. How are you going to address that for families?
Just to finish, as I said, I was saying, let's just go back to the last point. The data centres have to fit in within our decarbonisation plans. And we can do that by looking how their demand response, can they vary their demand depending on the situation of the grid, by their location. A lot of data centres have been gone into the Dublin area. CAN and EirGrid have been doing a lot of work looking at this as well. Bring the generation to where the power is, so our grid works better in that regard. And can they also have their own and work within a system that has backup power so that they contribute to the system security? So we can do this. I think we have to be very careful, Deputy O'Rourke, in terms, you're right, there's a significant issue around increasing energy prices, both gas and then knock-on consequences, electricity, but that is primarily subject to international factors. It's an issue right across Europe, right across most of the world, and it's a complex situation, but it's primarily driven by a massive increase in gas prices. That is occurring because we had a very cold winter last winter, there's a very low level of gas storage. There's a very high price of carbon on the international carbon markets. That's switching off coal plants internationally and switching on gas plants. And that and a huge increase in demand in Asia for gas is lead to a spike in gas prices, which is the primary cause for those increases in prices.
I hate to interrupt, but